want answers? I think I'm entitled. You want answers? I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
We are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
Your home for healthy masculinity. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Hey, y'all.
That's right.
Hey, what day is it?
Guess what
Hey, Mike,
day
Mike,
it is?
Mike, what day is
Guess
it?
what day it is? It's Monday.
It's Madman Day.
Monday. Hey, I am Kirk M. Samuels.
And I am Jason B. Kendrick.
And we are the Mad Men of Masculinity.
That's right. We're just real men having real conversations for you.
Yeah, so we say Monday because we record on Monday. We come into the studio. We have our super producer, Nikki Nicole. She's got new hair.
She's all professional
she's
now.
not really Skittles at this point. What is that?
She's Violent Violet.
That's like burgundy. What color is that? What's the official color?
It's like dark. See, I told
violet.
you. I told you it was
in
violet.
our world is dark violet. Right on. Straight off the rack. You know, it's good stuff.
So she's taken care of.
Yeah, so she's anyhow, so she comes in. Yeah, so that's why we say what day it is Monday. Because some of y'all might be like, wait a minute, it's Saturday. I'm listening to this because I listen to 12:20 a.m. in the Mile High City KLDC. I listen on Saturday mornings at 8 a.m. Or you might say I listen to 12:20 a.m. KLDC in the Mile High City on Wednesday evenings at 6 p.m.
Yeah, I don't think our listeners sound like that.
You don't think so?
I think that's just you.
That's the way I picture them because they probably all knuckleheads.
Listen to us?
Yeah.
I don't think so. I think we're past the knucklehead stage.
You think so?
I think we are.
You are? If you say so, man.
I think so. I think we are. I mean, you know, we got some
the Mad Men mob.
We got the Mad Men mob. They do their thing. The Mad Men mafia.
Is the Mad Men mob or the Mad Men mafia?
I think the mafia sounds better.
Yeah,
Mad Men
mafia sounds better.
Yeah.
We be taking out hits on people. We taking out hits on modern feminism daily.
See.
You know what I'm saying? We're gonna put modern feminism in some cement boots and put it like in the foundation of a stadium or something like that, like Jimmy Hoffa.
Yes, gonna be sleeping with the bitches.
Modern feminism, be gone. That's what we do, man. That's what we do, man.
So tell me about this topic. We're talking.
Hey, man,
about,
we got
this is your
one,
topic.
Man. We got a hot one right here.
So
hey, and if you're watching us live, Facebook, YouTube, all that kind of good stuff, feel free to comment on this bad boy. If you comment live, we'll see it live, and JBK will make you famous. Put your comment right up on there because we got a spicy one.
Yeah,
we got a spicy one. It's rhetorical. Not rhetorical means there's no answer, but we're gonna talk about it for an hour, so I guess it ain't rhetorical. But the question is, how important is sex?
Now
question mark.
Yeah. That's a big question mark.
It's a big question mark. Capital, that's a bold question mark.
Especially when you're talking guys versus girls or age time frame. And I think that's what came up for me when I was thinking about this was how old are we talking? Because I know when I was younger, it was like the most important thing. And now it's not quite the most important thing. It's just a big juicy cherry on top.
Well, it's an open-ended question for a reason. That's because we got an hour to talk about this bad boy. It's an open-ended question because there's a lot of different perspectives to look at that thing, man. But either way, I think it's a viable question. So it really came to mind over this last week. One of the Facebook groups that we're both a part of, one of the local kind of social clubs, social organizations, Parker Social. I actually posted it, and man, it got all kinds of backlash and whiplash and
what kind of responses did it get?
I posted something. It was something to the effect of, ladies should get a man who is like basically not obsessed with sex or whatever, something like that,
right.
But obsessed with like building and creating stability and all this other kind of stuff.
Right.
And man, the fellas was giving me, man, they was going at it, dude. This one dude was like, are you a man?
Oh, yeah.
You don't come.
Here it is. Here it is. I'll read it verbatim.
Yeah.
Find a man who has passed his sex craving stage, who craves for a peace of mind and financial stability and settling down.
Yeah,
I could see how some guys who aren't in that phase yet might take offense.
So, like I said, homeboy, they're talking about, are you a man?
Oh,
you don't come at me like that. I'm getting the baby power. You mess with the bull, you get the horns. And so my reply was, the old me would say, ask your sister.
Ooh.
But the new me is more refined, and I would never stoop that low.
Right.
Because I would never say that.
Sure.
But Ask your sister. You know what I'm saying? Because and my point of posting that when I saw it, and it, for one, I just like to post stuff that's just controversial, just to get engagement, just whatever. A lot of stuff I post, or some stuff I don't necessarily agree with. I just do it just for the sake of conversation and to get people's opinion.
Yeah. See, if you didn't know, Kurt got the big spoon. He likes to stir the pot.
Pretty much. That's just what I'm gonna do. I'm a pot stirrer. That's what I do. This is one of the things I do, man. I'm a line stepper. I cross the line habitually.
Is that your line? Is that your boundary?
Habitually. But I just like to do that, and so yeah. I mean, I just posted that just to see what would happen, and I got a lot of response.
Well, and I think I know under kind of the mindset you were thinking of when you posted that, or at least the conversation we've had before about when sex is the most important thing, it sometimes becomes your detriment, especially when you're younger and all you're doing is chasing tail and just looking for, how to get it and where is it at. And so it kind of runs your life. And until you get to a point where you're no longer craving it. And I think sometimes it's a hormonal thing, when we're young men and all that testosterone is flowing and all you can think about is that all day, every day, all the time. And then they make all those silly statistics that men think about sex every 30 seconds or whatever. Maybe when I was younger, but I got other stuff to do now. So I think, and of course, being a high value man, wanting to find a high value woman and wanting to have a high value life, there can really be nothing in your life that runs you, that you're addicted to, that takes your power away. And if sex is one of those things that takes too much of your energy, takes too much of your power away, then it can be a detriment. Now, what I would say, from my point of view, is that when you can get past that younger stage, when it's all hormones and everything, and you can create some priorities and some boundaries, and sex is always going to be important in relationships and in families and everything else, but it's about what priority do you put it, and are you making it a quality over quantity thing? Is it something that you're using to benefit your relationship, or is it actually hurting the other parts of your life?
Yeah, so when I posted that, I really didn't have any agenda.
Oh, you just throwing stuff out there.
I was just
throwing against the wall, see what sticks. I see
much.
how it
I was just stirring up stuff. That being said, I think at the foundations, I agree kind of with the premise of that meme from the perspective of, okay, ladies, when you're ready to have grown-up relationships, you need to make sure your man is in the same kind of, I'm going to say grown-up space. And I'm not saying that sex is not grown-up space. But what I'm saying is, if that is the priority, then you're doomed for, I think you're doomed for failure. You're doomed for some kind of demise if that is the ultimate goal. And I think, to me, that's the, I don't think, I'll get right to it. I don't think sex is bad. I think sex in the wrong context is bad. And with the wrong motivations is bad. In the wrong settings is bad. And I think when it's consumptive, then it's not a bad thing. I don't know if consumptive is a word. I might.
It is now,
but I don't make up words. I invent them. And so, yeah, I think in the right context, it's fantastic. And I think we were wired for sex and sexual chemistry. But I think in the wrong context, and I think in the wrong stage of life, yeah, I mean, it can be a bad thing.
Yeah, and I mean, we've talked a lot about porn addiction and a lot of things that go along with that, and that's some of the unhealthy sides of whether it's sex addiction or just improperly prioritize sex or mindset. And like anything else, anything that's good can become bad if it's overused or comes from an unhealthy mindset. And so I think with this episode, we really want to get into for the guys wanting to be a high value man, where do you put that priority and how do you structure it? What kind of boundaries do you put around what you allow into your space and what you will consume healthily as far as sex, and what you need to let go of that may be creating unhealthy mindset or unhealthy energy in your life that may be distracting, because we all want it. There's no, I mean, it sells. That's how corporate America sells everything. You see girls in bikinis with Big Macs or whatever, washing cars. I'm like, what does that have to do with a hamburger? But that's how they sell it. So we know it's ubiquitous. It's all over the place. But is it healthy in your life? And that's the thing that we want to really address in this episode is how important is it? And what is it that how are you utilizing sex in your life? Because it can be a very potent thing. and it's one of the things we'll get into as we kind of get deeper into this episode. But something to think about, guys, is even retention. I guess we can say that. Can we say that? We'll say it. We'll find out. Semen retention is something for guys that actually builds energy for you, builds focus. And I know, depending on which study you go into, it actually can make you more virile. And it's almost that pheromone thing. Like when you don't deplete yourself all the time and you're more selective, then you become more powerful. So it's something to think about, gentlemen, as you move forward. Like, oh, well, I don't need to have it 3 times a day. And it doesn't need to be all these cray-cray girls or whatever. I need to focus on a high-value woman who is a partner in my life, and then, create quality over quantity sex, as it were.
Right. And I think, we are your home for healthy masculinity. So everything we're talking about is from the perspective of what's healthy. Yep. I think when it comes down to it, what's healthy? What's healthy for you? And some of that is maybe scientific. Some of that may be our opinion. Some of that may be just cultural, whatever. But when it comes down to it, it's what's healthy for you. And even to the point you just made, biologically, us as men, we're making deposits.
Yes.
Right. And so through our sexuality. So maybe we ought to be as careful with our seminal deposits as we are with our financial fiduciary deposits. Would you just invest in anything? Would you put your deposit in Silicon Valley Bank right now?
Not anymore.
I'm just saying. Where would you make your deposits? Because you better make sure that it's a viable institution that's going to take care of your deposit, or else, you're going to be just out. You're going to be, out of luck, Chuck, like everybody in that whole banking situation. And so, I think when it comes down to it, it's healthy masculinity. And I look at just even what you just said, like from the perspective of I'm putting something valuable into something.
Yeah.
And so I need to make sure that for the long-term viability of who I am, my person, my being, my health, my wealth, all those kinds of things, that I make my deposits in places that I'm going to get some return on my investment. I'm going to get some dividends, some place that is healthy. I'm not going to just loan, somebody all of my money in my bank for some crazy haired business idea that they got. No, not necessarily. I'm going to be astute with all that kind of stuff. So I think, and to some degree, maybe I just need to have cash in my pocket. Maybe I need to retain some of that stuff and need to walk around with it, because right now, that's the best place for it. I want to walk around with some cash, but at the same time, I want to do something with the cash in the hand. Speaking of doing something,
what should we do?
Let's do a break.
Let's do a break.
What do you think?
All right.
12:20 a.m. the Mile High City, KLDC, Mad Men of Masculinity. We will be right back. Boom.
That's a good point. I got to look up Rollo Tomasi's quote on that, because
can we say semen over the airways?
We did.
I don't know. Nikki's going to have to look into that. That's biological. No, it's biology.
It's biology. Yeah, it's biology.
It's
but
biology.
It might, somebody might.
Right.
That'll be our last day here.
Sure enough, man. But that's biology. That's not vulgar or nothing like that. That's like, it's like blood or, earwax. I don't know. That's just stuff that you got, whatever. But I don't know. I'm curious about that whole thing. All right. You ready?
Yo. I'll find it later. But anyway. And we're back.
That's right.
Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 12:20 a.m. And we're talking about the importance of sex in your life, gentlemen.
How
and
important
ladies.
is sex?
Now, I wanted to jump on something. I didn't mean to cut you off there.
Easy. There's topic. Don't be talking about jumping on nothing, man. Especially now to be here.
That's why we got this big table between us. Don't make me come across the table.
We got Nikki in there watching in the glass window like this is a zoo.
She's got
baby.
Like she's getting out the baby powder. Watch out.
She's watching a couple of gorillas go at it. You talking about jumping on nothing, man. Anyhow.
So back to what I was attempting to say before I was so rudely interrupted.
With a break?
What? Man, see, that's what I can put up with all day long. Anyway, so back to that point you're saying about gentlemen, be careful where you deposit, because there are many men out there, and we know quite a few, and some of us have been those guys where you have made bad deposits in the past, and paid the price for years upon years, perpetually until perpetuity in the universe, or however that goes. So remember, gentlemen, before you make that deposit, because you have control up until you deposit. And then after that, it is out of your hands. So make sure you do your due diligence. Don't let little head dictate big head's future, because a lot of times, if you don't do your due diligence and make sure this is a high value, good quality woman who has your best interest and her best interest and the family's best interest at heart, once you've made that deposit, it is out of your hands. You have no more control, because as men, once we make that deposit, then the choice of whether there is a child birthed or not, and all of your income may end up becoming the courts to distribute. I was going to say something else. I stopped myself. So you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So be careful with your deposits, gentlemen.
Yeah. And this is grown up talk. I mean, we're not, this ain't, Disneyland talk. We're men talking to men, right? I mean, this is grown up stuff that we're talking about. It is real life, real deal stuff. And so when you get into, just what you're talking about now, man, I'm telling you, that one extra will get you 18.
Mm-hmm.
That one extra, man, will get you 18. And hey, fellas, and let me tell you, after 18 years, it don't stop. Trust
It's
and believe. Trust a brother. Learn from this right here. After 18, it don't stop. And so, it's one of those things as the guys. Now, I want to put a twist on this. Let me throw something out at you here.
All right, twist it.
Let's talk about women these days. Now, both of us, we have or have experienced, single man phases in various degrees, over this latest phase of our life.
Mm-hmm.
And it seems like women have definitely become more overtly and aggressively sexual in terms of their desires and what it just, hands down, like, hey, here's what I need. I need this. I need that. And blah, 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 blah. And, and I don't want to hit nothing else. I mean, we're talking, 51 out of 100 kind of thing. So maybe you in the 49, but we talking about 51 out of 100 from guys who've been there in terms of we've been in the jungle. We've been up in these streets. And so, it seems like sex has become more important to women. None of this is like, I'm not attributing a negative or a positive. I'm not ascribing any kind of, there's no judgment. These are observations, right? This is just conversation. And so I'm not saying that bad or good. These are just things that I noticed. I think, maybe a generation or two ago, women weren't necessarily as open with, hey, I need this. You're gonna have to, you're gonna have to bring it. You're gonna have to bring the thunder because it's storming up in here or something. Nowadays, they're just open with it, man. Especially in the singles world.
Yeah, there's something that we've kind of touched on it before, and so we'll dig into it again. But
easy.
Part
man.
Of
a lot of your verbiage is kind of really making me uncomfortable.
Really,
in this room.
Really, Mr. Man Nectar over there. Really,
you talk about something, and you touching on something, and anyway.
Don't worry about what I be doing. You be worried about yourself.
You stay on that side.
So there is a movement, and I know part of the feminist movement is all about equality and stuff, and so a lot of ladies have jumped on that bandwagon with both feet and gone, well, my body count shouldn't matter, and how many men I've had and all this stuff shouldn't matter. But then we're going against biology again, and this is a conversation I keep having to have, is that it doesn't really matter, but what you have to remember is the more men you've been with, the less likely you are to be able to pair bond. And biologically, men need to ensure paternity. It's part of our nature. We want to make sure that those children are ours. So the more men you've been with, the less likely a high value, good man with standards is going to want to pair with you. Now, he may want to hit it and quit it or be friends with benefits. Because if it's just for physical pleasure, it's just physical pleasure, no problem. But if you're looking to create a long-term relationship, got to think long-term. And that's the thing, is there's a lot of ladies that I've seen nowadays, especially younger ladies, who are kind of ruining their chances for long-term relationships because they're not thinking long-term. They're in the short-term microwave satisfaction, I want it right now kind of thing, and it's not going to end well. There's a lot of ladies out there who are making a good living on OnlyFans, and they're going to have a rude awakening later on when they realize that a high-value, good-quality man that they think they are entitled to isn't going to stick around except for just for fun, because there's no value left for him. It's kind of the used car analogy. Like you've driven the tires off the thing, and now he's supposed to come in and play full price.
We are here playing checkers in a chess type of world. I mean, and I think, I think if nothing else, and this is my opinion, I think we ought to make sure that you down for the down. I mean, from a lady's perspective, I would say, ladies, just like I use the analogy, metaphor, whatever word is appropriate for men and making deposits in the bank. I want to say, ladies, if you were walking in a parking lot and you saw a USB drive, a thumb drive that said, insert this in your computer, do you think you would say, let me see what's on this USB drive? Let me just plop it right into the USB port on my laptop and see what happens. Probably not, because you need to make sure, ladies, that whatever USB you put in your USB 3.0 drive on your laptop, you better make sure run some BIOS on that thing or something like that to make sure that you really want that smoke. I mean, from all kinds of perspectives. And so, do you really want to have, do you really want that shooting up the club? I don't know, so you might want to play chess when, the rest of the world is playing checkers. Because, when you go for that high body count and you think you're just going to be able to hit reset and you're going to be able to settle down and have a nice, peaceful, one-on-one monogamous, just kind of simple relationship with a guy. When you got that high body count, man, and you out there up in these streets, you up on the stage, whether it's virtual or whether it's literal, a guy will look at you different. He just absolutely will. And so you need to make sure that you're pretty comfortable about that USB, that thumb drive, before you put it in your USB port.
Yeah, I mean, and we'll go. I know it's not the most popular topic. People getting canceled all over the place about talking about the truth of biology, but that's the truth of things. And I don't know how many ladies I've talked to are like, they don't want a virginal man. They want a man who knows his way. They want a man who's had a few experiences. They want a man who is experienced. And that's part of that, the difference in biology. Most ladies want a man who's had several partners and has some experience. They don't want to. I don't know any woman that's like, I want to teach him. I want to show them how everything works. No, they want you to come prepared, already knowing how that stuff works. However, it goes different. It's the opposite, really, from men to women. We want to ensure paternity, which means, the fewer partners, the better. And I mean, if you just look at the biology, the science of it, a woman who has more than, is it 2 partners or 5 partners? I want to say probably like 2 partners is 50% less likely to pair bond naturally through hormones and everything else with a man. So then once you get into 5, 10, 20, some of these young ladies nowadays are acting like rock stars back in the 80s. They get into the hundreds and thousands. I don't know that there's ever a way that you will be able to biologically pair bond. And that's part of what Kirk's talking about. You need to have a chess mindset and quit playing checkers. You need to think long term. You need to think 4 or 5 moves ahead. What am I getting into? Who am I getting into this with, for both men and women? Because what used to be the telltale sign of if people were going to get together was proximity, because we all lived in one little town. And so whoever was nearby you, and then there used to be such a thing called courting. You'd spend months to years getting to know somebody and the family and courting each other. And then you would choose and decide. Well, now we have unlimited options worldwide. And so everybody's kind of having option overload and nobody's thinking long term. They're like, well, if this doesn't work, I can drop and get another one. Well, guess what? That's how everybody's thinking. And if you're thinking about that, about the dudes or the girls, they're thinking about you too.
And this is just advice, dude. This is just advice from a 50-year-old dude and a 40-some-year-old dude. Mm-hmm. We both been up in these streets in different kind of capacities, and this is just advice, right? I mean, you can do whatever you want to. I ain't judging you. I mean, I got a whole, I can't never run for president. Put it that way. I probably can't even run for president of the PTA because, you just never know. I mean, there was that time in college, whatever. I needed the money,
Hey, I'm not even going to talk about the major's daughter or whatever. I mean, anyway.
Yeah, but so this is just advice. But, from that advice is one of those, like, I'll be totally honest. I'm going to be transparent here because I'm open with putting my business out on the street. I don't care. My first marriage, she was 6 months pregnant when we got married. My second marriage, my daughter was 3 months old when we got married. Neither one of those did I have my mind in the right place in terms of, okay, is this really where I want to procreate? Is this really where I want to, like, am I ready? Mm-hmm. Am I ready for what I'm getting into? And so, so from that perspective, and I've learned a whole lot of lessons from that, and I'm hoping that you can learn some of my lessons in terms of making sure, however you get down, that you're ready for the get down of however you getting down. Because when you get down with the get down, the down is gotten.
You can only get down really once.
You know what I'm saying?
You can try to have multiple get downs.
You can't put the toothpaste back in the tube.
No.
It just don't work that way. And so however you get down for the get down, make sure you getting down all the way getting down, because once you get down, it then got down, and you can't get down no more got down.
And that's not confusing at all.
No.
And he has a good point too. Make sure, because don't be like I was and have that little come to Jesus meeting with yourself when you think that your partner is pregnant or not, or if you have a pregnancy scare, then all of a sudden you're like, do I want to be with this person for the rest of my life? Even if you're not physically together, if you have a child with that lady, gentleman, you are going to see her for the rest of your life. And if it's not somebody you can stand, if it's not somebody you want in your life, something to think about. So that's what we say, control the deposit.
And when it comes down to it, it's not even, in my opinion anyway, my opinion could be wrong. It could be different from yours. In my opinion, it's more than just physical. In my opinion, it's multidimensional. I think we see, especially guys, we see intimacy and sex being synonymous, when in actuality, I think both of them are multidimensional. And I think you experience both of them best when it's multidimensional. But so I don't think you can be with a lot of people and not have a little bit of them rub off on you. And again, I can never judge nobody. So I'm not even speaking from that perspective. This ain't no holier than thou kind of thing. This is an experience learned from this right here, so you don't have to repeat all that. So I mean, I think that's one of the things you got to make sure. That's why I say you got to make sure you're ready for whatever it is. Make sure this is something that you really want to, attach with in some kind of way, because it's definitely it's not a short-term thing. Speaking of a short-term thing,
all right, let's take a short-term break.
Let's take a short-term break.
We'll be right back. Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC.
Boom. Man, it's amazing how this stuff go quick, man. We start off with nothing, and we don't even know what we're going to talk about and all this other.
Yeah,
man.
I thought, you done bamboozled me again, because I thought you had this whole plan. Nope. You're like, no, I just posted a meme. Let's talk about it. I'm like, just throw me under the bus. Like, okay.
That's what I do, throw you under the bus. That's exactly what I do. But I think there's a lot of misconceptions, man, especially from the women's game. I think women have become more masculine.
Yep.
Obviously, this ain't even on the air, but the women, women are becoming masculine. So I think taking on some of those masculine traits, even sexuality, it may not,
well, it kind
men are built different.
Yeah, it kind of goes against. I mean, men have sex to fall in love, and women fall in love to have sex. Ooh. And so there's these two different things, and that's just how we're wired. And I know there's a whole, nature versus nurture, biology versus whatever, but it's just the way it is, man.
Oh. And we're back. Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City and on the interwebs everywhere. Support local radio people. Shout out Crawford Broadcasting. Holler at Crawford Broad. Send an email saying, hey, here's what we think, good or bad. By the way, Crawford Broadcasting, how can I support y'all? Go to the website. Check out all the other shows around here, man. Support local radio people.
Yeah, you feel free to give them a call and let them know how much you love us or hate us. I mean, I'm sure they would love to hear about us one way or the other.
No doubt. Shout out super producer Nikki Nicole.
She professional now.
She's professional now. She got the hot violet burgundy saucy. It's kind of saucy.
Deep violet. Yeah.
Deep violet, is that what it is?
Deep violet. She got her business suit
Not
on.
violet.
Well, she's the violet producer now. Right.
Gotcha.
I think that's the way it goes.
Yeah.
So anyway,
segue. Yeah. This is not having anything to do with her hair. Although you're looking good. I mean, don't get me wrong. But the topic today, I think I equate sex to be like money, sex to be like, other things that, it can be good or bad depending on, what you do with it. Right. I mean, your time, all kinds of things, it can be good or bad. It's neutral outside of the context in which you use it. Yeah, and I think when somebody is addicted to anything, like any of those things, you can be addicted to spending. You can be addicted to food. Food ain't bad. We need that to survive. and so, and without sex, we basically can't procreate or create the next generation. You can try to do the scientific thing, but either way, it still came from a man, whatever. So, I mean, so I think contextually, I don't even know if that's a word, but whatever. Point being, I think, it's neutral in itself outside of how we use it.
Yeah, I mean, even to that point, and we talked about a little bit during the break. One of the differences that comes up between men and women is a lot of times when it comes to relationships, men have sex to fall in love, and women need to fall in love to have sex.
That's deep.
But big but.
Hey, speaking of, you got a lot of verbiage today that's kind of shaky, man, with this topic. You know what I'm saying?
I think it's because of this topic that you're looking deeper into my verbiage, because I'm using the same verbiage.
I don't know, man.
I think
either your words are Freudian or my ears are Freudian.
Your ears are Freudian.
I don't know, man. But anyhow, big butt. Go ahead with your big butt.
Well, of course,
I like big. Anyhow, go ahead.
And I cannot lie.
Yeah.
Those things, those differences, and that's one of the things with the equality movement and everything else, and the younger women becoming more masculine and running up their body count, things like that. Well, when you do that, then you are negating your ability to pair bond and fall in love. And we talked about this before, but it's something else to reiterate that these are some of the truths that we live with. And when we ignore those truths and then just go, well, I'm going to do what I'm going to do, well, that's fine. We always say, do what you want to do, but you're still responsible for it. There is still a responsibility, and that's why we say, think like chess, not like checkers. You need to think moves ahead. You need to think about the future. Gentlemen, make sure you know who this woman is before you make that deposit. Ladies, be mindful of who you allow in, and don't just, because I keep seeing this, and this is something that happens. I've seen other ladies and friends and frenemies and just acquaintances this happens to, where they're much more free and open, and they're having friends with benefits, and they're going out on dates, and they're kind of giving it up freely. And then they decide, and it's that was it the retro virginity or they decide that now I'm just going to be a virgin again. And so even though all that experience has happened, now you meet some guy that you were interested in, you like, but now you're making that guy wait. But he knows about your past, and if he doesn't know, he'll probably find out. And so if you had been giving it up easily, word gets around, guys can kind of know, they kind of can tell, and then all of a sudden you're going to make this guy wait 3 months because you like him. It's kind of skewed logic, and it doesn't end well.
I was shocked when I was even in kind of the dating world, the online dating world, like Vanilla, Match.com, eHarmony, all them, Coffee Meet Bagel or whatever it was. And I forgot the other. I don't know. I was on a bunch of them for real. I had you talking about depositing money, man. Neil Clark, Warren, all them dudes got money off of me, man. But anyhow, I was surprised at how many women right out of the gate was like, hey, I mean, we talking coffee date to yo, when we gonna do this thing, and I was just surprised at how upfront it was with their intentions, and it was kind of, in total honesty, and yes, I am a dude. If you don't believe me, ask your sister. But it was kind of it was a turnoff in terms of man, if it became, I'll put it that way, it could become a turnoff in terms of man, why are we here? Why are we, you can't tell me one thing on your profile, then when we get in person, it's something totally different. And so, a couple of times, man, I remember a couple of conversations where it was wow, I didn't see that one coming. Yep. And so, yeah, I mean, things have kind of changed. And so, yeah, even if and I'll even say that, I'll go even a step further and say, even the church girls out there was like, yo, when are we going to do this thing? I mean, whatever they, a lot of them, whatever they presented, publicly on profiles, they just came off differently. And either way, I just thought that was kind of you kind of disingenuous. What else are you not really that I thought you were?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to quote the ever great and post, well, I don't even remember what the after they passed away, whether it's posthumous or harmony, I don't know what that thing is. Anyway, you know what I'm trying to say.
Yeah.
But to quote Tupac, I don't want it if it's that easy.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of thing where and during my dirty 20s and all that stuff, and some of my experiences with those dating profiles, a lot of times what I found out was whatever she said she wasn't going to do is exactly what she was going to do. If she was saying, I don't do it on the first date, give her a few drinks and find out. And of course, granted, we're in different age brackets now too, though. Yeah. So a lot of ladies in our age bracket, if we're going out on dates with them, they're single mothers or business owners, they got stuff to do. So sometimes they just get straight to the point. They're like, look, when are we going to do this thing? Which is fine. I get that. I respect that. That's truthful. The idea, though, is when you're younger and you have options, don't waste your options, because if you do, you're not going to have unlimited options. We only have so many options. We only have so many chits in the pot that we can, or poker chips to play, to play on our game, or blackjack or whatever. So you don't throw them all in when you're not ready, and make sure you're calculating and thinking about your next bet, because every person you come in contact with and you want to spend time with and you want to get sexual with is a bet. I mean, you don't know what you're getting into.
And I think it's funny, not so funny, ironic, biology, whatever, God's sense of humor. Guys, we reach our sexual peak early, earlier than women do. And so, earlier in life, we bought the numbers. But then when you get to this phase in life where women are older, that's when they're starting to hit their peak. And so, women are like, man, I'm ready to get it on, and from a guy perspective, I think, when we kind of get to these phases of life, I believe most of us anyway, begin to look for more than just that. Like, that's not as impressive. And here's a secret that here's really something I've kind of latched onto. I think there is a secret power that we can have as guys when we gain control over our sexuality. Yep. And I'm even talking in the context of relationship, where a woman or femininity cannot manipulate us through sexuality. Because when we gain the upper hand on that, when they have to bring more, then all of a sudden we're requiring them to put more chips on the table. When we just settle for that low bar, and that's, to me, that's the point behind that post. When we settle for the low bar, then they don't have to work. Yep. They don't have to do anything. But when we are able to be like, you know what? No, you got to bring me more than that, because that ain't impressive no more. Then all of a sudden it's like, whoa, wait a minute here. And then it's a little bit more difficult for them to just bounce, because a lot of times, as soon as they know they got it or they can get it, and as soon as they know what the combination to your lock is, then they ready to just be out. And so I think when we as men really understand the power of having control over our sexuality, whether it's retention or whether it's standards, whether it's all those kinds of things, then I think we're set up for even more success in the dating and relationship marriage setting, in terms of like, you know what? No, that I'm not motivated by that. You're going to have to bring me more today. I need peace on top of all that. To your point, that's the cherry on top. It's not the sundae.
Yeah. And for men to be high value, gentlemen, I mean, I know we all go through our younger phases where the testosterone is kicking and it's just all about get what you can get as soon as you can get it. And that's part of that kind of growing up and learning your skills phase. And we all go through that. But when you become a high value man, or you want to become a high value man, having standards and not just giving it up or giving into, because just to Kurt's point, if you're easily manipulated, if all she has to do is wink at you or show some leg, and then you'll do whatever she wants, she's only going to view you as a beta buck, some guy who she can just use and get what she wants to. So, gentlemen, know the complete sentence. And if all she's offering you is sex, then pass, unless that's all you want. But then you need to be upfront and honest. Be like, well, that's all you're offering me, and I don't see any future in this, but sure, let's have some fun. But to that point, too, that's also detrimental, because it's detrimental to your energy. It's detrimental to your time. It's also detrimental to your money, because you are going to spend money on her. You're going to spend money going out. You're going to spend money on food and drinks. You're going to spend money on hotels and vacations, everything else. So being discerning. And that's one of the things that, especially coming from a lot of guys coming from nice guy syndrome, we didn't learn discernment. A lot of us came from this lack mentality of, I got to get what I can get when I can get it. And so we are just being manipulated and used left, right, and center. And then you wonder why, as a nice guy, you're depressed and unhappy and semi, can't use that word now, semi want to take yourself out, because you're not having the life you want, because you're not having the standards that that type of life requires. So make sure you are holding yourself to a higher standard, holding yourself with boundaries and not just taking whatever you can get. Because if it's too easy, it goes both ways. If it's too easy, they don't want it.
You know, the when we settle for the lowest hanging fruit, we lose sight of the fact that the sweetest berries are at the top of the tree. And when you think about the highest value man you can think of, whether it's in sports or business or whatever, that guy ain't impressed by sex. I mean, whether you a fan or not, whatever. Tom Brady is not impressed by a pretty woman. He's not. I mean,
especially nowadays,
dude. He just got divorced from a Brazilian supermodel that made more money than him.
He probably.
How many of y'all have been married to a Brazilian supermodel that made more money than you? None of y'all, fools. And so he wasn't impressed by all that kind of stuff, man. He was like, you know what? I'm gonna move on. I'm gonna do my thing. Matter of fact, I'm gonna go back and play me some more football. You know what I'm saying? Because he wanted that. And so the highest value guy that you can think of, those guys aren't impressed by sex. They aren't impressed by the low-hanging fruit. They might get tripped up and hemmed up by it. My man Tiger Woods guy, he got in trouble with that. And so when you think about the highest value man having a big fall, quite often it's around that low-hanging fruit. A president a president can just
careful where you go.
A president can just, man, I really want to use, the president can just let it all go over some,
we know what happened.
You know what I'm saying?
We know what happened.
And so when you are that high value man, a true high value man, I'm telling you, man, you're not impressed by that. And so we as men need to raise our game, become more valuable. And as we become more valuable, we need to require more from life, require more from women, require more from the tree, more than just the low-hanging fruit. We want that berries at the top of the tree. And speaking of requiring,
what are we requiring now?
Let's require our last break.
Is it that time again?
It is that time. We are the Mad Men of Masculinity, KLDC 1220 AM in the Mile High City. We'll be right back. Bomb diggity. I wanted now that we now I want to say
now that we're behind the scenes.
I was about to say a president can blow it all
or get it all blown.
I really wanted to say a president can blow it all over some nonsense, with some low hanging fruit. That's what I really want to say. A president can blow it all over some low hanging fruit. But I was like,
if we're talking about that episode, I mean, think about what he was going home to. I think he was stepping up a little bit.
I mean, come on, man. Literally, he was blowing it all for some low hanging fruit.
I got you.
You can read into that. That's what I really wanted to say, man. About
it's the topic because
tightroping this thing.
It's the topic because that would not have been an over the top statement.
It would not have.
But
you're right.
Today, so it's not me.
It's me.
It's you.
It's me. It's totally.
It's not me. It's you.
It's totally me, man. Totally me. All right, let's close this thing out.
And we're back.
That's right.
Mad Men of Masculinity on KLDC, 1220 AM in the Mile High City, and on the interwebs everywhere.
You are 100% correct, man. Hey, holla at your boys. MadmenRadio.com. Facebook, YouTube, anywhere you can get a podcast. Holla at your boys. Just say hi, say what's up, all that kind of good stuff. You want to partner with your boys, all that kind of good stuff, man. We trying to raise the game out here, man. We trying to raise the bar on masculinity, healthy masculinity. There's not another show out here that's trying to raise the bar on healthy masculinity. You name it, I'll wait.
Yep.
Done.
There isn't one. There. I mean, we got irons in the fire. There may be internet TV shows in the future. You never know because we're the only ones doing what we do. So you have the fortunateness to live in Denver, to have a radio that tunes into 1220 AM, and you can listen to us. You can go on the internet and listen to us live anywhere. You can stream us anywhere. See how fortunate you are?
Holla at your boys.
Be grateful.
Holla at your boys.
It's attitude of gratitude.
Closing out, talking about how important is sex.
And that's a good point. After last segment, when you were finishing up, I had a thought, and it comes down to this: how important do you make it? And in my experience, I'm sure a lot of guys experience, one of the reasons we get to a point in our later years, middle age, where it's not as important is because you realize it's about the partner, it's about time and the commitment you put in to make it valuable. When you're just out there in your 20s and just trying to add notches to the bedpost and see how many you can get, and you're just sowing your royal oats, as it were. It's not as important. It's just kind of like you're going through the motions in a way. You're learning. But if you want to have high quality sexual engagement in your life, then you need to put impetus and importance on it. If it's not important, if it's just something to check off your list, then you're going to treat it as such. And that's why thinking quality over quantity, having boundaries, having standards, maybe saving your seed and, building up that deposit and saving it for the right person, saving up that energy, because it helps to build your testosterone. It helps to keep you focused, keep your energy strong. And if you're not wasting that on unimportant encounters, wasting it on pornography or other things that aren't adding to your life, that aren't adding to you as being a better, more high value man, then you're kind of wasting what is something that you can be saving and building and creating interest from that would make you a more high value man, make your sexual encounters, make your relationships stronger, better, more important, and higher quality.
I think speaking for men, I would say, ladies, we do recognize, we do care whether, a guy says, I don't care how many, it does make a difference. And if you're coming off a stage, if you're coming off a website, man, it does make a difference to the guy. I don't care what he says. And guys, I would say, man, we need to raise the bar on our sexuality. We need to stop giving it away for free. We need to make the world earn it. Whether that's sitting around by yourself, looking at a screen, medicating life, just numbing yourself, numbing your masculinity, all those kinds of things. That's not healthy masculinity. That's not raising the bar. That's not being a high value man. I think we need to be careful that the world is not able to the world and people in it are not able to manipulate us into giving away our sexual value for free. Yep. And I think as we as men begin to raise that bar, then we raise the expectations of the world around us. Then I think we're just not easily manipulated. I think we're not easily duped for the okie dokie. I think, like I said, if nothing else, we require more of women in our life. We require more of society. And it's just not impressive. And when it's not impressive, then somebody else has got to find a new trick to bring to the circus.
Yeah, if you were struggling in business, if you're struggling in relationships, if you're struggling with energy, especially if you're getting to the middle age like we are, if you're not being as successful in the areas of life that you want to be successful at, maybe do some experiments. Maybe quit spending your energy on fruitless things in ways that don't fulfill you, and prioritize that energy in other ways. Maybe take a sabbatical and stay off the computer, or don't call the easy girl to come over just for fun. Maybe focus your energy, focus your attention on your goals and what you want, and then focus it on more high quality people in your life. Because if you're willing to accept whatever, or you're willing to be manipulated by whoever throws any smile or wink at you, then you don't have the foundation that any high quality man needs to build their castle, to build their legacy for the future. So you have to have a foundation that starts with you, and it's something to think about. What are the qualities I want to embody? How do I embody those qualities? And what are the qualities that would make me the highest value man in the area that I want to be the most valuable in? These are questions you have to ask yourself. I mean, if you want some support, we can support you, but it's a conversation you need to have with yourself about what is it that I want to be the most important in my life, and what are the best ways to get there? Because we all have so many hours in a day. We all have so much energy. We'll have so much blood flowing in our body. And so we need to prioritize how we use all those things, and think about long-term chess over checkers. And you think 5 moves ahead, how are we going to utilize our finite time, our finite energy, and our finite bodily resources to become the best men we can be?
And I would say maybe even consider, there's the whole no fap thing and all that. I would consider maybe it is. Maybe just take a break. Maybe just back it off a little bit. Now, I'm a guy, I'm pretty open with my story. Again, even my first book, 30 of the first 40 years of my life, man, I was addicted to porn and everything from it, and then, I had my breakthrough, and I'm fortunate enough to be able to help guys, get free for themselves. And one of the things I can tell you from that journey is that it was lonely. and it was miserable. And I literally medicated every feeling, every emotion with that. And it used to be a thing that you had to pay for. Now it's free and unlimited. It's the only free and unlimited drug in this planet. And it's everywhere you have a screen. And so I get it. I mean, I don't ever want to not crave sex, but I want to crave sex with a particular woman. I want to crave sex with her. And I mean, because I think sex is phenomenal. I mean, I think sex is tremendous. And I don't ever want to, I'm not a eunuch, right? I mean, I'm still a functioning male. Right. And so I don't ever want to not crave sex, but I don't ever want the craving for sex to drive my day. I don't want the craving for sex to be the thing that I live for. And if I was, speaking to one of my daughters, I would advise her not to seek to be in a relationship with a male who lives his day craving sex, because if he just craves sex, eventually yours ain't going to be enough for him, and he's going to be craving it from somewhere, anywhere else. And so, that's my advice from both perspectives. And and I think it's something that culturally maybe we need to think about in terms of elevating our sexuality, not from a judgment perspective. Again, I didn't put my business out here today, not from a judgment perspective, but I just think from a realistic, where are we now? What are we doing? And if you want to get your freak on, make sure you getting down with the get down and know what you're getting down with, and make sure you're making educated, choices for however you want to live your life.
Yeah. Just make sure whatever you decide, you're deciding for what's best for you. Because if you're struggling with better sex, if you haven't had a good sex life, if the sex you're having is kind of unfulfilling, guys, for us, we need to add more emotion to it. We need to have more intimacy with it, which means we need to spend more time with one woman to get closer, to feel closer, to have to build up that kind of emotional tank, as it were, so that we could have the sex we've been missing. Because I mean, yeah, you can go out and find ladies nowadays. We talked about it, that are much more open sexually, much more like a dude. And they're willing to, you can, physically get your rocks off. But if that isn't fulfilling to you anymore, if it's not just physical you're looking for, if you want emotional, that's when you need to slow down. And that's what we're talking. Be more high value, be more discerning, save your energy, save your deposit, save your seed, save your time and money, and only spend it on the one that you feel connected to, you feel the emotions with, and to Kirk's point, you might want to take a break. And if you're struggling, so many men nowadays are medicating with pornography, or there's so many sex addicts out there now. Of course, having been a part of that community in the past, it's different than sex. What is the sex offenders? That's what I'm trying to say. Right. It's sex addiction is completely different than sex offenders. A lot of sex offenders may be sex addicts, but a lot of sex addicts are not sex offenders. And then most of those guys are medicating with pornography or escorts or whatever. And so they're not taking the time to look at the whole inside themselves.
When you crave sex, and sex is your craving, it becomes consumption. And you can't love anything that you consume. You don't love Starbucks. You might like the drink, but you throw away the cup when you're done. And so, you can't consume and love. You can't consume and have intimacy at the same time. And when sexual craving is your only goal, you end up being lonely. With all of the thousands and probably millions of websites and videos and pictures that are online that offer you some kind of a sexual outlet, what you ultimately end up with at the end of the day is just feeling lonely. And it's not that sex is meant to enhance intimacy. It's not meant to replace intimacy. And so, when that becomes our goal, then that's when we require more from the asexual encounter than just getting rocks off, than just the chemistry, just the physical aspect of it all. We require more from it. And that's where we need to go. We need to require more from all that kind of stuff. Because like I said, otherwise, trust me, I've been there, done that. When that is all you seek all day, every day, and you just spend hours and hours and hours, you end up being absolutely lonely. You can't ever overcome that.
Yeah. So this episode is how important is sex? And if you want to take my 2 cents, how important sex is, how important do you make it? How much do you make it a priority to be fulfilling? Like how much investment are you putting into it? So if it's just something you're, like Kirk was saying, you're just consuming, it's not going to fulfill you. It's like candy, it's like sugar. It'll give you a rush, but then that's it. And then you need more. It's like any other drug. So how important is sex in your life? How important are you making it? How important are you, how discerning are you going to be with your partners and your future and your finances and your energy? It's all about valuing yourself more. Gentlemen, no is a complete sentence. And if you tell a woman no, more often than not, she's going to value you more than you just saying yes to whatever she wants. No matter what she may say to your face, like, I want a man who says yes to everything I ask for. No, she doesn't. No is a complete sentence. Make sure you are valuing yourself enough to be able to discern and look for quality over quantity. We all need more quality in our lives.
And when you say no, she tries harder.
Yes.
When you say no, she tries harder. We have to require from our relationships more than just the basics. We have to require that. And when I say require, that's a strong word, but requirement comes from saying no. It comes from setting a standard that is above the next floor below it. You know, when you are required, when you're going for a college degree, they require more of you than a high school degree, and so forth and so on. And so we have to require these things in the context of a relationship. And to your point, that says a lot of that has to do with saying no. And so I think sex is absolutely important in the right context.
Yep.
Absolutely important in the right context, and it is absolutely destructive in the wrong context.
Yeah, you want to make sex important by making it high quality and something that you're discerning over, not just something you're consuming. So, gentlemen, time to quit notching the belt and start being high quality and high value. And until next time, Madmen out.